Welcome to another episode of Strictly Business Unscripted. I'm your host, Keandra Jones. This podcast educates, ignites inspiration, fosters encouragement, and paves the way for growth among small businesses and the overall Oak Cliff community. But first, I'd like to thank our sponsors, Dallas Zoo, Home Care Network, Serve Pro, and Breakfast Brothers. Thank you for your support. Now, let's get into today's show. On Strictly Business Unscripted, today we're joined by Michael Zavala, a seasoned media producer and founder of mzStudios, a Dallas-based podcast and content studio. With over 20 years of experience in audio and video production, Michael has carved out a niche in podcasting, voiceovers, and original digital content creation. He is also the host of MZNOW, one of Dallas's longest-running podcasts. From behind-the-scenes production to building lasting creative platforms, Michael brings a wealth of insight into the evolving world of media and storytelling. We are so excited to have him on the show today. Welcome, Michael. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's been great. It was great to be here.
Well, thank you. We appreciate it. So, Ricky Booker is how this has happened.
I love Ricky.
He is the most amazing. He's a board member of ours and of the Oak Cliff Chamber of Commerce. Tell me how you know Ricky.
So Ricky, back in the day, 2008-ish, I think was doing, he had his own record label. Oh. And he had an artist on who I was a big fan of called B Hamp. And they had a song called Do the Ricky Bobby. Yes. And so I loved the song and B Hamp and everything. And so we had them on a lot. And over the years, Ricky and I developed a relationship, a friendship, and it's been great. And I don't get to talk to him. I think we were talking before the camera started going on. I don't get to talk to him very much. Like there might be a couple of years that go by. But if he calls, I pick up the phone.
Yes.
And when we do see each other, it's like, seeing a family member. We pick up right where we left off. And I said, I feel bad for you because you have Breakfast Brothers right here, and you can't just like not go there all the time and spend all that money and eat all that food. It's incredible.
It is. So breakfast, it's a blessing and a curse because we share a parking lot with Breakfast Brothers, and as much as I thought that I wanted to share a parking lot with Breakfast Brothers, I do not as a recovering fat person.
Right, yeah, I get it. I would be 800 pounds if I worked here.
I'm telling you. But he is amazing. So thank you for picking up his call and coming in to see us today.
I was glad he did. I know every time he calls, like I said, I have to pick it. I don't know what it's going to be, what he's going to need, or what if I need to help him or whatever, or he's going to help. But I always pick it up.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
So we've read through your bio and all the things that you've accomplished, and it is tremendous. And I want to get into that.
Okay.
But first, I want to know, who are you outside of your work? What
exactly the same. Exactly the same. How I'm right now is and what I do at the studio or whatever is exactly the same. I try not, which is I'm grateful for because I get to be who I am all the time, and do all the things I love all the time. So if I'm not in the studio, I'm at the house working on a project that we're going to release or whatever. I get to do that all the time. So there's really no work-life balance is not a thing for me, unfortunately, but because I get to do what I love. It's all just part of my own balance, I guess, if that makes sense.
That does, and it's rare to hear, because we've had many guests on here and they struggle with the work-life balance thing. And maybe that's because maybe we're doing things that we don't necessarily
want to do.
Yeah. And so it's interesting that you've chosen a career doing exactly what you want to do so it doesn't feel like work to you.
Yeah, I get to play every day.
Wow.
I mean, coming here doing this kind of thing is different, right? I don't get to do this very often, even though I'm behind the mic or whatever. But I'm playing right now. This is great. I love it, and I get to do more of it, throughout the week in a different capacity.
So you've been so break it down for us. Tell us what you do. What is it?
So we started doing a show. So we did I love radio, and so it all started with my love of radio. There was a show back in the day. They're still doing the show, but the host has passed away. But it was the Kid Craddock show. That was one of my favorite shows of all time. And when I was a kid, I would listen to it and want to do radio, and then started doing our own shows. And I actually interned very briefly at the Kid Craddock show, and then We started doing our own projects. A buddy of mine was like, why don't we just do our own thing? This is before people were doing their own thing. You know, you had to be signed. So we did, and we started taking off. We did internet radio. We did syndication, radio syndication. We did all these things. And we started, when the internet started becoming more, you know, people started getting it in their homes, high-speed internet. We started doing live shows, like every Friday night or Saturday night. We would do a live show from a studio, have guests on, things like that. That's how we met Ricky and B-Hamp. And then now we started doing TV. We dabbled in TV for a little bit, and then now we kind of just went back into like a podcast realm because it's cool because you can listen to it whenever you want, you can watch it whenever you want, and that's kind of where the world's going. It's kind of like on demand essentially. So it kind of all started from that love of radio and love of just creating and being, you know, an artist, I guess, in a sense of like I got to get this idea out, I got to do this, and so that all kind of snowballed into what we do today, which is we have our own studio now. We produce podcasts and content and video production for companies all across the world, and worked with big brands and celebrities and all that kind of stuff. So it's been really cool. If you would have told me though 10 years ago, the studio's been open for 10 years. We've been doing this for, you know, I've been doing this all my life basically. But if you would have told me 10 years ago that we would be working, you know, with all these people, and these people you don't know who's going to walk in at the studio every day. There could be Mark Cuban was in there a few months ago. You know, we've had some influencers that just walk in. And but if you would have told me that 10 years ago, I wouldn't have believed you. But here we are. And so we're very blessed to do the things that we get to do.
Yeah. Okay, so radio, television, internet, all the things. You do everything as it relates to getting messages out there.
Yeah, I think it's like whatever's the best format for that particular. And the cool thing is now we get to, with the internet, you get to you don't have those roadblocks. We don't have to have a connection at Netflix. We don't have to have a connection at ABC or any of that kind of stuff. We have an idea what's the best format for this. Is this an audio format? Is this a video format? Is this, and we get to go out and just do it and shoot it, like what you're doing right now.
Yeah.
You didn't need a network to come in and do this and put all this money in. You have your own production right now, so it's great.
So of all those things, what's your favorite platform?
It would always be radio because I like the listening and imagining. Back in the day when you would listen to radio DJs or their bits, you didn't know what they looked like.
Yeah.
You didn't know what they were doing, so you just imagined it. And then when you saw a picture of them, or you saw them at a showing or whatever, they were like, "Oh, that's way different than what I thought." But it was that was a cool experience back then that I don't think we get to see anymore because everything's filmed, everything's on the social media and all that stuff. So, but I think it'll always be radio.
Okay, I can see that. So I've always wanted to ask this question to someone with your expertise. So social media has changed everything. Of course, I grew up in a time where there was no internet, so social media sometimes is still very foreign to me. But it seems that in business, it seems that someone that's selling a widget or a thing, they have to put on full display their whole lifestyle. They're having to step out of Rolls Royces and have the greatest, best shoes on, and all the things that are not related to business at all.
Right.
In order to sell that thing.
Right.
What's your take on this whole social media having to have this crazy lifestyle kind of thing?
I think people are seeing that, and it's this facade. You go to the Universal Studio lot in California, and it's all fake houses. You know, and I think people are starting to buy into that, and I think it feels too salesy, too pushy, too fantasy-like, and I don't think that's what people need to be. I think you just need to be who you really are. If you're somebody who wakes up at 12 o'clock and not 4 a.m. And you get your day started, but you're successful and that works for you, then show that. Show who you actually are, not this fancy lifestyle. I was watching some video yesterday of some guy who was a influencer and business guy and everything, and he goes, I was making $2 million and I was driving this little crappy car, and so and that's fine. I think that's show your life. If that's what you do, then show it. And I think people relate to it because not everyone can relate to a giant mansion or a Rolls Royce. So show that you're driving up in a 20-year-old Toyota Corolla and you still closed a deal or whatever. That's what people should be seeing. Yeah.
I agree with that. Sometimes it just kind of seems that people want the other thing.
Right. Yeah.
Leave
that to the Kardashians. They're already doing that. You don't need to do that.
Right.
They do it better. They got more money.
Yeah,
and a producer and makeup people and all that.
That's very true. That's very true. So let's step our way back just a little bit. MZStudios. Tell me how did you start? Now I know that you were interested in radio and that's your passion and all the things. What did day one look like for you, and how did you walk into being who you are and what it is today?
It was all an accident. So what happened was we were doing the TV stuff, and TV. There's a lot more stuff involved in the TV stuff. You editing. I mean, you guys know you're doing video stuff. It's easier now than it was even 10 years ago, 12 years ago. But but there was a lot involved, and it was just not getting the thing that I wanted to get out that was in my head. And so I was like, let's go back and do the radio side again. I think that's we already know how to do that. We like it. It works. And so I had a buddy that had a place off of Regal Row in Dallas, and he had it was like kind of a creative studio. And so he would let us use their lobby to set up every week to do our show. So I was dragging in equipment, and it was a lot of equipment. And finally he goes, I got this extra room I'm building, a studio. I thought he was going to give it to me. He ended up charging me rent for it, but whatever. That's a whole thing. Yeah. But he said, it's a very small room, but if you're tired of setting up every week, which I was, he goes, you can just rent the studio and, we'll go from there. So we said, okay. So we set up an entire studio in there for us. It was our playground. And then we said, you know what? We're not here all the time. We're here maybe 2 or 3 times a week. The equipment's getting dust on it because it's just sitting here. What if we built a website and let people know that we're here? And if they want to rent it, maybe a couple people that'll help pay the rent. That's what we were thinking. And then here we are 10 years later, and it's pretty much our full-time gig now. This past 2-3 months, I've been hiring people. We've been expanding our services and doing all these different things, and we're moving even past podcasts to do other things. So it's been really cool. But again, it all happened by accident. It was more because we built a place where we could play, and then other people wanted to play in there too. Yeah. So
I love that.
If people go like, well, how could you, if you had to do it over again, how would you do it? That's exactly what. And sometimes I'll be honest. Sometimes the life of running a business and all that, it gets very stressful. And you're like, you know what? Maybe I should just sell the business and get out of it. And then what I'll do then with that money is I'll build another studio for me so I can play in. And then maybe because I'm not there all the time, and it turns out I'd be doing the same thing that I've been doing before. So why not just still do what I'm doing right now? So, but yeah, total accident. I'm no business guru by any means. It was happenstance. Just follow your passion. It was a perfect example of follow your passion, follow what you love, and then things will kind of happen with it.
I love that. I wish more of us could and would trust ourselves to do that.
And I didn't trust myself either. No? That's the thing, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to make more, because now it's another expense, know. And but sometimes you just got to take the leap and see what happens.
Yeah. Well, kudos to you for taking it.
Yeah, well, I like I said, I didn't know he was going to charge me rent, so that was a whole other thing.
I get that. So let's talk about specifically podcasting for a little bit. So that is one of your many specialties. In podcasting, it seems to be not necessarily oversaturated, but it is a very crowded space, if you would now. How do you help a podcast stand out from another one?
It's all about, I think these days, really about, and I used to laugh at this, but it really is about niching down. It's about being hyper specific in your industry, what you know, and really being a thought leader in that industry, especially on business podcasts. If you want to talk about what the Mavs did last night or whatever, it's good luck trying to get that. Not saying you won't. It's just a lot harder. You got to have a really good personality. You got to have good clips and all that stuff and get a following. People have to, but I think from a business perspective, if you're trying to do a podcast or you're an influencer or whatever you're hyper focused on, that needs to be your whole podcast or whatever. And you have to be a thought leader in that industry. So I'll give you an example. We have somebody who they were in the pool industry and they just started a pool podcast for people not people who have pools, but people that work on the pools. And has now grown that industry. They're now like an educational company. They have courses. They're making videos all the time. So people, it's incredible what they did in like 3 years. But it's because they weren't trying to do, let's look at the greatest pools of all time. They're really hyper focused and really niche down to pool professionals, giving them the information they probably didn't have before. So those kind of things, I think, are really dry. And then, of course, you don't even have to have a podcast that really blows up. If you're just doing that, and let's say you're a roofer and you're just doing a podcast about maybe the situations you find yourself in, like these maybe working with insurance companies. Here's what we did for this, or whatever the case may be. You put that on your social media, and then when I go look, because in 5 years, I'm not going to go on Google review to go look you up to see, like if I'm hiring a plumber, I'm not going to go and Google, what Harry's Plumbing and then have them come to I'm going to go on Instagram, or I'm going to go see their TikTok or whatever that was around at that time.
Right.
And I'm going to see who's coming to my house,
Right.
what they're like. So show off your staff's personality, who you are, what you're specialized in. And I think that those podcast clips or those content clips will really help you stand out from the competition, because nobody else, some people don't want to do that. People don't want to be on camera. People don't want to, put their whole life out there, which you don't have to. But so I think just doing that, showing your staff, showing the day-to-day, the boring stuff that you may not want to show, show that and do a podcast and take those clips and put them on and become a thought leader and become a leader in your industry. I think that's how you stand out. It's a long-winded answer, I know. But
that's a great answer. I mean, it's helpful even with this podcast.
Yeah.
That's very, very helpful. And so that has caused me to think a million different thoughts in terms of even how to better position this one.
The one thing I didn't do when we were starting out, because we just did it because we enjoyed it, right? We didn't know who was listening at the time or who our avatar was. They would tell you to come up with your avatar. We didn't know who that was. But I wish I did. I wish I had known that, so you can figure out. Now we know who the avatar is, and we can better market to that person. But back in the day, we didn't know that. So I always tell people, like, figure out who it is you're trying to talk to, that one person that you're trying to talk to, and then build the content around that.
Yeah.
And then you find that person, you find other, just like what we kind of did, right? We built a studio. We thought we were the only ones in the DFW area that was doing what we were doing. And of course, there were other little podcast things or whatever going on, but there was nobody else out there. That's why we built it. And then we thought we were the only ones, and then we put it out there, and then other people like us started to come in.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of mentality, I think.
That's interesting. Okay, that's very helpful. Thank you. And so tell me, what is MZNOW?
So MZNOW is more of a scratch pad for me, right? It's a creative scratch pad. In fact, we've kind of, over the past couple of years, put it on the back burner because we've had so many other things we're doing. We're launching our own, trying to work on our own kind of original programming, and we're shooting like a reality show right now, and we've got other things in the pipeline. So we've got a couple things. We're just trying to do as much as we can, and then if something takes off, then we're going to put our resource to that or whatever. But I think that's also the key, is experiment, try things, whatever crazy idea you have in your head, shoot it, put it out there, see what happens.
Yeah.
You never know. I mean, who would have thought that an interview show where people eat hot wings would take off? You know what I mean? But if somebody thought about that and like, maybe I'll try that some other time, but they never shot it, then it would never have turned into the monster it is today. So I would encourage people to try to do things like that. So MZNOW is my creative gym. I think the reason why we keep doing it, even though we put it on the back burner, is it gives me an opportunity it gives me a platform where if I want to talk to a celebrity, we can have them come in, and we've got that. Or if I want to do a joke or rant about something or whatever. So that's really what it is. It's more my creative. It's that one every other week or every week whenever we do it. It's that one time where I can really focus in on it, throw things against the wall, see what sticks, have fun with it, and then and go from there. So it's not even a thing we really even promote anymore, just because I can't guarantee it's going to be a good show. We put zero effort into it at this point. Right now, we have plans to go and maybe next year revamp it a little bit and do some cool stuff with it. But that's what it is.
Okay.
Essentially, it's just really for me.
Yeah. Well, understood. Understood. So in your career, your 2-decade-long and beyond career, you have met a ton of celebrities. Which has been the most impressive?
It changes all the time.
Okay.
Because sometimes I'm like, oh, this is really cool. Like you meet a hero. Like we've had Bill Nye we've interviewed Bill Nye. We've had, I'm a big Star Trek fan, so I've had William Shatner on. I've had Leonard Nimoy. But I think I think if I really had to put somebody in, it would be a group of people that I really enjoy, and it's voice actors. So I have met most of the people that have acted in cartoons when I was growing up, the characters I loved. We're friends now, which is cool. And in fact, we were in LA a couple of months ago, and we had dinner with the guy who is now the voice of Yoda. And so those people, because they get to play, they get to go to the studio, they get to play, they're carrying these characters on. So I think those people, and they're always very nice, these voice actors. We're friends with the guy who does Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck. So those are the people that I really enjoy watching. They're having fun because they grew up and now they're the ones with the keys to the kingdom, and they're carrying on the legacy of these characters. So I think those are really the ones that I enjoy the most out of all that. You can have Tom Cruise sitting there, but if you had the guy who did Pinky from Pinky the Brain, Rob Paulson, sitting there, I'm going to go up to Rob Paulson and not Tom Cruise.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. So in meeting all of these wonderful voiceover actors, actresses, all the things, all these thespians, have you picked up any impersonations?
Yeah, but I'm not good. That's why, every single one of them, like, you can do voice acting, what about? And I'm like, no, but I'm not you. Yeah. I'm not going to do. There's no way, because if I got a script, let's just say, and they go, this is for a legendary character, I already know 3 people that can do way better than me, and I'd rather, as a fan of that character, would give it back to them. So that's not my specialty.
Okay.
Yeah, I could do my little weak impressions on the show on MZNOW, and then it plays out there, but I'm not going to do it professionally.
Okay.
Because these guys are way better. I respect these characters too much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with MZNOW, so you've been in existence, or it's been in existence for a very long time. You've learned a lot of valuable lessons over the years. Give me your top 2 lessons that you've learned.
Well, the first one I think would know your audience,
yes.
right? Know who you're talking to, and then I think the second one might just be from an interview standpoint, and it would be because I always thought I was a really bad interviewer, and I still think that to some degree, but always just kind of re-listening to the interviews. I guess that would be number 2 is listen to yourself, listen to those interviews.
Yeah.
And just tweak it. Like, be your worst critic. I already am naturally, but I'll go back and I'll listen to those things and what could I have done better here? Maybe we should have asked about this. Maybe we should have done that. Maybe I talked too much here and then should have. The guest is there. I'm not the guest, right? So maybe I should have done that. So I think that's it, because I think a lot of people, especially today, everyone wants to do a podcast or everyone wants to do content. Especially people that are talking about what the Kardashians are doing or what the Mavs did or whatever.
Yeah.
They record it and they just put it out and they don't listen to it and try to learn from it. And I think that would be the biggest thing that probably has helped me is just learn from that. Like, listen to yourself and critique it. Even if you have to listen to it 3 times, critique it and then get better. Because you're not going to – it's like watching the game tape, right? When you're a team, you go and you're watching the tape of what you did last week. You're watching the tape of the team you're about to play. Same type of thing.
Yeah. It took some time in listening to myself to get used to the sound of my voice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the first several times it's like, I hate the sound of my voice.
Everybody does, yeah.
Any tips as to how you overcome some of those things, or maybe even seeing yourself on camera, the appearance of you, hearing yourself. Any tips as to how to get past some of that?
It's repetition. It's just, it's like having like a really bad, like, let's say you're at somebody's house and they serve you something that's not that great, but you don't want to disrespect them, so you just keep eating it, and eventually you're like, it wasn't as bad as I thought. Same type of thing. You just kind of have to you got to build a tolerance to it. And then you also, like, as far as like people hate to see themselves on camera, you walk around every day and this is how you look, so it doesn't matter. Everyone else, you don't see it, but everyone else does, so it is what it is. So you're just putting yourself out on camera. It may look a little bit different than the mirror, but it is what it is. So I think that if you think like that, it's still tough, but you just got to do it, put it out there, and then you realize. I mean, you can also go on TikTok and there's people with disabilities or burns and all that stuff, and they have no problem showing their face, talking about their message. They have no problem. And if you are a healthy individual, not saying they're not, but a healthy, no scars, no that kind of stuff, you have no reason not to be doing that. If they can do it, you can do it too. And they've got a message. They're sharing encouragement. They've got 2 million followers. That's the kind of thing that I think everyone can learn from that. Yeah. So there's a guy that's a motivational speaker, has no arms or legs. Yeah.
Yes.
And he goes up and he's changing people's lives all the time.
Yes.
And if you've got 2 arms, 2 legs, you should be videotaping yourself too and not critiquing it. So he doesn't make an excuse. You shouldn't either. Yeah. That's what I tell people anyway.
I love that. So if there were an individual that were watching this now and you are their absolute idol, they want to do what you do, how would you recommend they get started?
Just start. That's what we did. I mean, we didn't have all the equipment in the beginning. We didn't have all the, whatever. We just kind of did it. We just kept going, and then we learned from it, and then we just kind of adjusted. When we first did our first show that we did was back in 2006, and it was we did it. I think we were live streaming it on internet radio, and then within 2 months, we didn't know what we were doing. We were just emulating things that we had heard before and all that stuff. And within 2 months, 3 months, we were syndicated on like 11 stations. Some were online, some were terrestrial radio station. We would we had like a live feed that would go out to these affiliates and all that. I don't even know how to do it now, but that's what we would do back then. And yeah, we just kept doing it and getting better. People critique it. By the way, that's the other thing. I think that's what stops people is the comments, the critiques, the negative criticism. Just ignore that. You've gone through your life probably with not a lot of that. Most people don't really hear it. They just see it. Most of those people you'll never see again. You didn't even know that person existed 2 seconds ago. Yeah. It doesn't matter. It could be a bot. Who knows? Yeah. So just go out there, do it. Ignore the comments. Keep doing it. If you love it, keep doing it. If you don't, here's what I would say to people who, if they're just trying to do it because they're trying to make a bunch of money or they're trying to get notoriety or something like that, I would say it's not worth it because you're going to burn out really fast. Right. It's really something that you have to do because you love it, I think. And that's going to keep you going regardless. We didn't make money for a long, long, long time. Yeah, so we lost more money probably back in the day than what we've made, Sure. But but now we get to it. We're in a place where things are doing pretty well and we can do things. But it took a long time to get here. So and we didn't do this because of the money. None of this was because of the money. We just did it because if you told me I didn't have to pay a bill for the rest of my life and I could do whatever I want, I would be doing this regardless. So. Yeah. It's just because that's what we love to do. So I think that's really what it is. Maybe ask yourself the question, do I really love this? If I don't, then maybe it's not for you. Yeah. Maybe do something else.
I love that you're so passionate about what you do. Yeah, I love it. That matters. It doesn't matter what the industry, if there is no passion, it should not be done. Mm-hmm. And so that's a valuable lesson that we all need to learn. If someone out there were interested in getting in touch with you, how would they do that? mzStudiosDallas.com. So that's it. And we've got links on there. You can book a call with me or whatever. It's real easy. So easy to find us. Okay, Michael, one last question for you. Okay. So you have got to share with us your scooter incident that Ricky has told us about. Yeah. So we're getting back to Ricky.
I know. So how much time we have? We have 2 hours? Are we good? So I don't know, Labor Day 2018, I think is what it was. I was in Deep Ellum, and I was coerced on a scooter. This is not my idea. And I went over a manhole cover. I was going very slow. I'm not a daredevil by any means. Okay. And I went over a manhole cover and lost my balance and fell and shattered my leg in 16 places. This leg here, actually. And was out for like 3 months. They had to put metal in it, and it's a whole thing. I got a whole Home Depot in my leg. And we learn how to walk again and drive and all that stuff again because my right leg is where you push your pedal and all that. Yeah. So everything's good now. And then I milked the injury so much we got on Judge Steve Harvey where I sued the person that was with me and or attempted to, and we were on national television. So I had to break a leg. They say break a leg when you get on TV. I had to break a leg to get on TV. Oh, wow. But we got to work with Steve Harvey, and that was great. And it was a lot of fun. I can't. It wasn't fun. The leg break wasn't fun. But what came after the leg break was fun. I still milk it this day. If you go to our studio, there's a giant cutout of Steve Harvey in the production room. We've got posters and pictures of the wall of us on the show and all that stuff. So we definitely milk it as much as possible.
Wow. What a great story.
Yeah. So my message to people that are thinking about getting on a scooter would be, if you think you can Uber, let's just Uber instead. Like, how much time are you really saving on a scooter? Right. You can either walk or Uber. Like, you save 30 seconds, I wouldn't, it's not worth it.
No, it's an Uber for me.
Yeah. Uber for sure. That's what I was trying to do. And the biggest thing was, situation that I've never been in an ambulance before. Okay. And at some point in my life I'll probably be one, and maybe I'm 80 years old and I'm passed out or whatever. But this is a situation where I was laying on the ground in Deep Ellum and I'm like, oh, I can get in an ambulance and be aware, like I could experience what it's like to be in an ambulance. So I was kind of excited about that. Well, the person I was with ended up calling an Uber instead, and so I had to crawl into the back of what I described as the Urkel car. Oh. And with a broken leg, and it was not. So I got my whole experience of being in a ambulance was taken from me. So that's something that I live with every day, and it's rough. No. But we'll get through it.
Oh no,
we'll get through it.
Well, Michael, it most certainly has been a pleasure getting
Yes,
to
it's
know
been great
you
being
today.
here.
Thank you so much.
You're a great interviewer, by the way.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you. Hopefully you'll come back.
Yeah, anytime.
Come on
Anytime.
over.
I'm literally doing nothing, so I'll come by anytime.
Okay.
You're probably going to have to kick me out of here because I'm just hanging around here.
We will never
You got
do
candy
that.
up in the front?
We do, but
I
take
love
an
that.
Uber here.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I'm not going to scoot here. That's
yes,
for sure.
Yes. Well, thank you for being here, and thank you for joining us for yet another episode of Strictly Business Unscripted, and we'll see you next time. I'm your host, Keandra Jones, and again, thank you for watching another episode of Strictly Business Unscripted. We'll see you next time.